Imagine you are opening um, a beautifully designed, state-of-the-art physical storefront. You spend months on the branding, the lighting is perfect.
Right, the inventory is meticulously curated, everything looks great.
Exactly. You unlock the doors, flip the open sign, and you just wait for the customers to pour in.
Mm.
But there is a massive catch.
Oh, there always is.
Right. The front door handle weighs like 300 pounds. The price tags are all written in invisible ink, and the aisles are literally covered in tripwires.
Well, I mean, you'd be out of business in a week. No one would tolerate that kind of experience.
Exactly. You would never do that in the physical world. It defies all basic business logic.
Absolutely.
Yet in the digital world,
Yeah.
this exact scenario is playing out right now, literally thousands of times over, and it is triggering an absolute avalanche of legal consequences.
It really is. It's becoming a massive issue.
So today, we are taking a deep dive into why online accessibility has suddenly transformed.
Yeah.
It's gone from what used to be considered, a niche technical concern into this massive, unavoidable legal liability.
Yeah, and we've got a fascinating report in front of us today to help unpack this. It's titled The Rising Legal Risk of E-Commerce Inaccessibility.
And this report is a critical read because the landscape, it isn't just shifting, it has already shifted.
Right. We are looking at a fundamentally different digital operating environment than we were even like 5 years ago.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because the foundational statistic in this report is just a total jaw-dropper.
Oh, it's staggering.
In 2025 alone, there were nearly 5,000 accessibility lawsuits filed. 5,000.
Yeah, and we really have to look at the momentum behind that number because it isn't just some statistical anomaly.
Right, it's not a blip.
Exactly. That 5,000 figure represents a 20% year-over-year increase. We are tracking an area of law that has been relentlessly compounding for a decade now.
Wow. And here is the detail that makes this highly relevant to your everyday digital life, especially if you're, managing a business, writing code, or driving marketing strategy. 69% of those lawsuits are targeting e-commerce specifically. Yeah. So this isn't a broad net cast across the entire web. It is laser focused on online retail.
And that concentration is the key takeaway here. Plaintiffs aren't indiscriminately suing, every local bakery that threw up a basic WordPress site in 2018.
Right. They're not going after the mom and pop blogs.
Exactly. E-commerce is sitting directly in the crosshairs.
Which naturally makes you wonder, why? Why is retail bearing the brunt of this?
It comes down to what we call the surface area problem.
Right. Let's talk about that. Because if you think about a static informational brochure website, it has a very small digital footprint. It's basically a simple room with one door.
Yeah, very easy to navigate.
But an e-commerce site,
Yep.
That is a massive, highly interactive machine. You've got dynamic product catalogs, search filters, secure account portals.
Complex checkout flows, third-party customer service chats.
Exactly. Tons of moving parts.
And what's fascinating here is that from an engineering or a conversion rate perspective, we view all those interactive features as essential value adds.
Right. Well, we want to make the site better for the user.
Exactly. We build a dynamic product filter and think, excellent, this gets the user to the purchase faster. But from a legal and accessibility perspective...
It's a completely different story.
Oh, yeah. Every single one of those complex DOM elements, every state change, every little pop-up is a potential point of failure.
It's a liability. But wait, how are these law firms actually finding all these failures? I mean, 5,000 lawsuits implies an industrial scale.
It does.
They can't possibly have thousands of plaintiffs just manually clicking around the internet hoping to get stuck on a checkout page, right?
No, exactly. And this is the critical mechanism that people miss. The volume of these lawsuits is compounding because the discovery process is entirely automated.
Automated, like bots.
Yes, plaintiffs' firms are deploying web-scraping bots. These bots crawl the web at massive scale, specifically parsing a website's code for missing ARI labels, improper form structures, broken focus management.
Wait, so businesses aren't necessarily being sued because an angry customer called a lawyer.
Rarely.
They're being sued because an algorithm scraped their site at 3 a.m., flagged a missing line of HTML on their Add to Cart button, and literally auto-generated a demand letter.
Precisely. The bots are just hunting for the lowest hanging technical fruit. That's why the volume is exponential.
Wow.
Think about a multi-step checkout flow with expanding menus and hidden required fields. It has a massive technical surface area.
So more complexity equals more risk.
Exactly. The more complex the interaction, the higher the likelihood that the code fails an automated accessibility scan.
Okay, let's look at the financial reality of this, because I think when people hear the word lawsuit, their minds instantly go to like catastrophic headline-grabbing jury verdicts.
Oh, like millions of dollars.
Right, exactly. But the report reveals a very different operating model. Most of these cases never see the inside of a courtroom.
Almost none of them do.
They settle out of court, and the cost of those settlements usually lands between $5,000 and $25,000 per incident.
Yeah, that is the sweet spot for these demand letters.
Wait, $5,000 to $25,000?
Yeah,
Honestly, let me play devil's advocate for a second.
go for it.
For a mid-sized or enterprise retailer, that's practically a parking ticket. That is way cheaper than hiring a full-time accessibility compliance team.
From a purely short-term spreadsheet perspective, sure.
So I can see companies just treating that as a nuisance fee. Like, why not just write the check, pay the settlement, and move on?
Because that is exactly what plaintiffs' firms are banking on. It is a brilliant and highly dangerous trap.
A trap. How so?
While settling a lawsuit doesn't buy you immunity, it doesn't actually fix the underlying HTML on your website. You've literally just paid to make one specific plaintiff go away for today.
Ah, because the bot is still out there.
Exactly. The bot is still crawling. The report actually notes that 43% of surveyed e-commerce leaders say they have already faced a claim or a lawsuit. 43%.
That is almost half the industry.
Right. This isn't a one-time lightning strike. Because these firms use automated crawlers, they know exactly which sites have recurring, fixable patterns of inaccessibility.
Oh, I see. So if a company pays the $15,000 settlement but doesn't bother to refactor their code?
The law firm knows that site will keep generating valid claims. They will just find another plaintiff and send another letter next quarter.
Unbelievable.
It essentially becomes a recurring subscription fee to the plaintiff's bar.
You're just paying a tax for bad code over and over again.
Precisely.
And beyond the hard dollars of the settlements, there's a massive intangible cost here, too. The report specifically highlights the reputational damage.
Which is incredibly difficult to quantify, but entirely real.
Think about the PR hit. You spend years building a brand, positioning of being customer first, of being inclusive and welcoming. You spend millions on marketing to tell the world how much you care about your user's experience. And then a public lawsuit drops, alleging that your digital storefront actively excluded people with disabilities.
Yeah, it completely destroys all that goodwill.
It is the ultimate hypocrisy in the eyes of the consumer. So the math of just writing the check falls apart very quickly when you factor in brand damage.
Absolutely. The long-term costs are devastating.
Okay, so we know the bots are looking for technical failures in the code. Let's make this concrete for the listener.
Sounds good.
Instead of just listing off what's broken in the abstract, let's walk through what this actually looks like for a user. Imagine I'm a shopper who is visually impaired, relying on a screen reader, and I'm trying to buy a pair of shoes from a mid-sized online retailer.
Okay, a very common scenario.
I land on the product page. What happens?
Well, the very first barrier you're likely to hit involves the product images.
Okay.
If the developers didn't include descriptive alt text, which is the hidden HTML attribute that actually describes the image, your screen reader can't interpret it. Right. So instead of hearing men's leather running shoe in navy blue, the software just reads out the raw file name. It says something like image DSC_459_final_v2.jpg.
Which gives me absolutely zero information about the shoe.
None. You are completely blind to the product you're trying to buy.
So I can't see the shoes, but maybe I want to check the price or, I don't know, the return policy.
Right. And here you might hit the second major failure, low color contrast.
Oh, right.
This affects a huge portion of the population with low vision or color blindness. A lot of modern web design favors this very sleek, minimalist aesthetic.
Like light gray text on a white background.
Exactly. To a designer, it looks elegant. To a user with low vision, that text literally disappears into the background. They can't read the price, they can't read the specs, and they certainly can't read the fine print.
Okay, let's say I somehow get past the images and I manage to squint and read the price.
Yeah.
Now I want to actually buy the shoes. I try to hit the Add to Cart button, but the report flags keyboard navigation as a massive issue here. Why does an Add to Cart button fail?
This usually comes down to how developers write the underlying code. many users with motor impairments cannot use a traditional mouse.
Right, so they use the keyboard.
Yeah, they rely entirely on the tab key and other keyboard commands to jump from interactive element to interactive element. Now, browsers have built-in accessibility for native HTML elements, like a standard button tag.
Okay, so a button works like a button.
Usually. But often, developers will build a custom button using a generic div tag and then attach a click handler to it using JavaScript.
So visually, it looks like a button. And
Yeah.
if you click it with a normal mouse, it acts like a button.
Right, but semantically, to the browser and the assistive technology, it's just a meaningless block of empty space.
Oh, wow.
A keyboard user literally cannot tab their cursor onto it. The button is completely invisible to their method of navigation. They just hit a brick wall.
Okay, so I'm completely stuck. I can't click Add to Cart. And right as I'm trying to figure out what to do, the site decides to serve me a promotional pop-up. Enter your email for 15% off.
Oh, the dreaded pop-up.
The report flags pop-ups and modals as a highly targeted legal liability. Why are they so dangerous?
This is a classic DOM focus management failure. We call it a keyboard trap.
A keyboard trap.
Yeah. When that pop-up triggers, the developer is supposed to force the user's keyboard focus into that modal and, more importantly, give them a semantic keyboard accessible way to close it.
Right, to get back to the main page.
Yeah.
Like a two-way street.
Exactly. But what often happens is the pop-up acts like a one-way turnstile. The user can tab into the promotion, but the little X to close it isn't coded properly.
Oh, no.
Because there is no reverse focus state coded into the turnstile, the digital gate won't let them tab back out.
So they're stuck.
Completely. They can't close the promotion, they can't buy the shoes, and they can't even get back to the main website. They are entirely trapped within that pop-up.
That is maddening. I would just close the whole browser.
Most people do.
But let's say, by some miracle, I bypass the pop-up trap and I finally make it to the checkout page. The final hurdle the report highlights is improperly labeled forms.
Yes, and this is where the highest volume of cart abandonment actually happens for users relying on assistive technology.
Because they can't fill out their info.
Right. When you look at a checkout form, you visually see a blank white box, and right next to it, the words credit card number. Your brain makes the visual association.
Right, the label is next to the box, but the screen reader doesn't have that visual context.
Precisely. The screen reader parses the raw code. If the developer didn't use the correct label tags or ARIA attributes to programmatically link the text credit card number to that specific input box.
That happens.
The screen reader just arrives at the box and announces, edit text.
Edit text, that's it.
That's it. It doesn't tell you if it wants your first name, your zip code, or your security code.
Wow. Making a purchase becomes a literal guessing game.
And nobody's going to type their credit card information into a blind text field just hoping for the best. They just abandon the cart.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So going back to our physical store analogy from the beginning, the missing alt text is the invisible ink.
Mm-hmm.
The generic div tags are the tripwires. And the keyboard trap in the pop-up modal, that's the one-way turnstile where you literally lock your customers inside the dressing room and walk away.
It's an actively hostile environment created entirely by accident.
Which brings us to the most vital part of this deep dive. How do you actually fix this infrastructure? Because the underlying code failures seem incredibly widespread.
They're everywhere. But there's a very clear roadmap out of this trap.
Yes, the report points very clearly to a specific standard. It's an acronym, WCAG 2.1 AA. That stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines.
Right, and we really need to define why this specific acronym matters so much.
Why is it the gold standard?
Well, when regulators like the Department of Justice or judges in a courtroom are evaluating whether a website met a reasonable bar for accessibility, WCAG 2.1 EVALA is the exact benchmark they reference.
It's the de facto legal standard.
Exactly. And it is built around 4 core principles known by the acronym POUR.
POUR. What do those stand for?
Right. Perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust.
Okay, break that down for me.
Perceivable means, can the user sense the information? Like providing alt text for the blind. Operable. Can the user navigate it? Like ensuring the site works without a mouse.
Got it. Understandable.
Is the operation predictable? Do the forms make sense? And robust, does the underlying code actually work with various assistive technologies like screen readers?
Okay, I want to push back on this a little bit. I understand the POU principles. They make sense. But the internet is a constantly moving target. Modern e-commerce sites deploy new code daily. They change marketing campaigns weekly. If WCAG is this massive, highly technical set of guidelines, Aren't we just setting developers up for an impossible game of whack-a-mole? I mean, you fix a button today, marketing adds a new widget tomorrow, and suddenly you're out of compliance again.
That is an excellent point, and it highlights exactly why most companies fail at this.
How do they usually handle it?
They treat accessibility like a project. They say, okay, team, let's sprint for 4 weeks and become WCAG compliant.
Right, just knock it out and be done.
But that overnight compliance framework is practically impossible for a complex site. If you treat this like a light switch that you can just flip on, you are going to waste a lot of money and still end up getting sued.
Because the very next code push breaks it again?
Precisely. You have to treat accessibility as ongoing infrastructure.
Like security.
Exactly. Think about how a mature engineering team handles website security or site speed optimization. You don't just secure your site on a Tuesday in 2023, dust off your hands and say, well, we're secure forever, no need to ever look at firewalls again.
Right, because new threats emerge. The environment changes. Security is a process, not a state.
Accessibility works the exact same way. It has to be an ongoing, living practice baked into your operations. And the report provides a really sharp step-by-step blueprint for this.
Yeah, the first step it outlines is conducting a comprehensive audit to understand where you actually stand today. You have to know how deep the hole is.
Right. And where the automated bots are going to find you.
And once you have that audit, you don't just try to fix everything at once. You prioritize. You target the highest impact, highest risk areas first.
And in e-commerce, that almost always means the core navigation and the checkout flows. You have to fix the most critical revenue paths.
And finally, the step that actually stops the game of whack-a-mole. Baking accessibility requirements into your ongoing development pipeline. We're talking about shifting left.
Yes, exactly. You train your designers, your developers, and your QA testers. But more importantly, you integrate automated accessibility linters into your deployment pipeline. Yeah, automated code checkers. If a developer tries to push code where a button is missing an ARA label, the system just flags it and blocks the deployment before it ever goes live.
Oh, that's smart. So you fix the root cause in the workflow itself so new features don't quietly reintroduce the same old liabilities.
Exactly. You aren't just reacting to demand letters anymore. You're building an environment where the errors literally can't ship in the first place.
That makes total sense.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are really looking at a fundamental paradigm shift in how digital business operates. For a long time, web accessibility was viewed as a nice to have. It was like a corporate social responsibility initiative or something the legal team worried about in the background.
Right.
That era is over. As the report directly states, accessibility is now the price of admission to compete globally.
The sheer scale of the automated scraping proves that. When you have nearly 5,000 lawsuits in a single year, compounding annually at 20%, and a hyper-focus on e-commerce. This has officially moved from a rare, unlucky legal exposure to a highly predictable operating cost for the entire industry. Until an organization adapts its underlying infrastructure, it is just a sitting duck waiting for an algorithm to find it.
And waiting for a bot to send you a demand letter is just a terrible business strategy.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now, up until this point in the deep dive, we have focused almost entirely on the defensive side of the equation.
The risks.
We've talked about the mechanisms of the code failures, the money lost to legal settlements, and the nightmare of reputational damage. We talked about how to build a technical shield to protect your business.
Right.
But I want to turn directly to you, the listener, with a final, frankly staggering thought to mull over as we wrap up today.
The offensive side of the equation.
Exactly. Because every dollar and every hour you spend fixing these barriers, adding that alt text, utilizing native semantic HTML, untrapping those pop-up modals, it isn't just a legal shield. It is direct revenue recovery.
Oh, absolutely.
According to the source material, there is a mind-blowing $260 billion with a B in recoverable sales currently sitting abandoned at online checkouts entirely due to these exact accessibility failures.
$260 billion. It's just staggering.
That is money from people who actively wanted to buy, people who had their credit cards ready, who navigated to your site intentionally, but literally could not get through the invisible tripwires of a badly coded checkout flow.
They just gave up.
So as you go back to your day, look at your own digital footprint and ask yourself, how much of that $260 billion belongs to businesses that simply forgot to link a label to a text box?
Too many.
And more importantly, how much of that lost revenue belongs to you? Remember that beautifully designed physical storefront with a 300-pound door handle? It is time to fix the hinges, unlock the door and let everyone in.
Well said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.